Everyone, this is Jake Wynn, public historian. I'm here on the 4th of July, 2026, the 250th anniversary of American independence. And as we've been approaching the 250th anniversary of our independence, I've been thinking a lot about what that means in this nation of ours, what it means for this milestone in American history. And I've been participating in some events around this event, in particular 2 days ago at Seminary Ridge Museum, as we did a reading of the Declaration of Independence, and I participated in a panel discussion about the legacy of independence and what it means 250 years later. And so as I've been thinking about this, I kind of wanted to put some of those thoughts down on paper and share some of those thoughts with all of you and for myself in the future as well, to mark this moment in American history. So here is what I put together. 250 years ago today, the United States was born. In Philadelphia, the Continental Congress, having voted 2 days earlier to separate from Great Britain, approved the final wording of the Declaration of Independence and sent it to the printer. The document laid down Enlightenment ideals about the rights of man, that all human beings are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It listed 27 grievances the 13 colonies held against the British Crown. And it declared that after years of humbly seeking redress and being answered instead with threats of the hangman's noose, the only course left was independence. What followed was a long and bloody war pitting the American colonists and eventually their European allies against the most powerful empire on earth. Against the odds, the Americans won their independence on the battlefield, on the high seas, and through persistent diplomacy. The Declaration became the genesis of revolutionary movements around the globe for the next 2.5 centuries. It not only freed 13 colonies from an imperial power, it launched an experiment in self-government, embodied in the Constitution written in 1787 and put into effect in 1789. Our republic was born with tremendous flaws. Colonies whose economies were deeply rooted in slavery proclaimed ideals about liberty. Thomas Jefferson, who penned the Declaration, was an enslaver. So were most of the men who signed it. George Washington, who led the Continental Army to victory and became our first president, held hundreds of human beings in bondage at his home at Mount Vernon. The original sin was written into the Constitution itself, which counted an enslaved person as 3/5 of a human being when apportioning Congress, handing the slaveholding South extra power to protect what it called its peculiar institution. Slavery led directly to the Civil War, our bloodiest conflict, and its aftermath still shapes our nation. Women, too, had no place in American political life. They were disenfranchised with no say in the government that ruled them. Despite Abigail Adams' plea to remember the ladies, it took nearly a century and a half for women to win the vote nationwide. And yet, here is something remarkable about the founders. They knew the republic they made could not stand still. They built a government designed to grow as the nation grew, a constitution that could be amended as the people claimed new rights and demanded new protections. And to guard against despotism, against the return of a king by another name, they built a system of checks and balances. As John Adams put it, power must be opposed to power and interest to interest. For 250 years, our nation has changed in ways the founders could have never imagined. But the system they built was made to change with it. And the American people have risen to that challenge again and again. It has not always been pretty. It took a civil war. It took vast movements of ordinary people to confront concentrated wealth, virulent racism, and the other evils that arose along the way. We have endured world wars, depressions, disasters, and plagues, and still the Republic lived. Through it all, Americans have found their bearings by looking backward to the founding. What binds us as citizens has never been blood or soil. It is a shared belief in self-government and in the ideas that Jefferson set to paper: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, as we mark 250 years of independence, we find ourselves in a dark and divided hour, as divided perhaps as we have been at some of the lowest moments of our history. There is unease in this land. and a deeply rooted sense that something has gone wrong in this country of ours. Yet, I find hope in our history. And yes, I mean our history, because whether we like it or not, we are all American, despite the forces in our midst that would divide us by party, religion, race, or national origin. I think of my native coal region of Pennsylvania. It was one of those American places built on the mineral wealth beneath the earth, where millions came from across the world in search of a better life. They came from England and Wales and Germany. They escaped slavery in the American South and settled in the hills and valleys of northeastern Pennsylvania. They came from Ireland amid famine, fled pogroms in Russia and Ukraine, and left behind poverty in Eastern Europe and Italy to find opportunity and to say in their own future in America. It was not easy. They faced brutal working conditions and stared down wealthy industrialists, winning new rights for themselves as American workers and setting an example for the rest of the country. And though they met nativist hatred from those who did not want them here, they stayed the course and made their cultures a part of American culture. You can taste it in the pizza we love, the pierogies we eat, and the sausages we are grilling today. In recent decades, new immigrants now face those same old hatreds, but they have been reshaping American life just as the Germans, the Irish, the Italians, and hundreds of other peoples have before them. And we should welcome this because our prosperity and our freedoms should remain a beacon to the world, just as they have been for 250 years. On this 250th anniversary, I am choosing hope over despair. Our story tells me that this is a country capable of yet another new birth of freedom. We have stood in darker places and survived deeper divides. When I look back at those who came before, the thinkers who found human rights in ancient texts and Enlightenment ideals, the reformers who broke old prejudices, the leaders humble enough to put country before self, I see the way forward. I love this country for its ideals and its promise. It has never fully lived up to them, but it is the striving, the constant work of making America more fair, more just, more free that powers my devotion to it. It means reckoning honestly with our darkest chapters while trusting the better angels of our nature, which have prevailed before and can prevail again. And here is what I ask of us on this anniversary, that we think beyond ourselves and beyond this moment. The founders did not pledge their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor for their own comfort. They did it, as the Constitution says, to secure the blessings of liberty to themselves and their posterity. We are that posterity. Every generation of Americans has been handed this republic in trust, charged with keeping it and passing it on better than they found it. Now the trust is ours. So happy 4th of July. Cheers to 250 years of American independence. May we do the work of healing the wounds in our society, not merely for ourselves, but for our children, our grandchildren, and for generations of Americans, born and yet unborn, who will inherit what we choose to build today and in the years to come.